When I was in school, I said, I can talk to dead people. And of course, nobody talked to me for a long time.
These types of events have been occurring since the dawn of human civilization. There isn't one culture on Earth that has not reported them.
So if you're clairvoyant, that means you see it. It's like you're able to see into another dimension.
Do we have a spirit? Do we have a soul? Whether or not we survive bodily death, I guess that's the ultimate question.
What are ghosts? Why, am I crazy? Is it like, who knows what it is? I want to know.
We wanted to be scary. We spent a week with a lot of books about ghosts and poltergeists, and we also wanted to base it on what we felt were the facts that existed in literature and with people who studied ghosts. So we wanted to base all of the things that happened in the movie on those kind of things rather than on things that were made up.
Poltergeist disturbances over a fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Are you telling me that all of this could just suddenly end at any time?
Yes, it could. Unless it's a haunting.
One of the most ancient beliefs we have, and it permeates the whole of the human condition, is that ghosts are spirits of the dead who come back to communicate a message. And the number of people who've reported this is phenomenal.
The term ghosts suggests and implies that when our physical body dies, that something remains behind.
I think a ghost is an entity, something that can appear, more visual, but you can also hear it.
Where are they coming from?
I don't know.
Ghosts are people who don't know that they're dead. So we're actually dealing with a kind of continuity between, this world and the world of people who are dead.
What are these ghosts and spirits actually like? I mean, why do they exist in the first place? What do they want? Why are they here? Why don't they just stay there? Why are they coming to us?
A spirit or a ghost is simply someone who hasn't passed through the light.
A ghost is stuck between this world and the next world.
We see that generally a violent traumatic death is what seems to precipitate a ghost.
Ghosts supposedly linger because they have unfinished business, something that they haven't really finished in life.
Sometimes this becomes an entity who is not able to adjust to the next step, which is, of course, being on the other side.
It's a place there's no resolve to it. There's no closure. And what a psychic medium has to do is put that closure on it.
One thing's for certain, though. All ghosts are not equal. And one of the great examples of this is the difference between the so-called ghosts and the poltergeists.
The difference between a ghost and a poltergeist is obviously the difference between something that appears to be a completely natural thing, the ghost, and something which is actually, in effect, a kind of spiritual juvenile delinquent, because that's what poltergeists are.
Now the word gives it away. Polter is German for noisy, and Geist is German for ghost.
They seem to kind of draw the energy to where they are. Books have flown off the shelf, vertically, not like they would fall over. People would hear voices.
It consists of objects being moved by unseen hands, things being thrown, or people being pushed. They don't understand that they've died. They don't understand that. And so they want to get attention.
But in the movie Poltergeist, there were certain things that did ring true. As I recall, there was a sequence where I believe it was Jo Beth Williams, she's in a kitchen, and the chairs keep kind of being rearranged behind her. Well, that's exactly what that ghost or poltergeist like to do. They love to move objects around.
Uh-huh.
Undoubtedly, Poltergeist, the film, did have quite a big impact in getting far more people interested in the phenomenon of poltergeist, because I think most people were simply not aware how common it is.
When I look at it now and look back on it, a lot of the stuff that's in there, it's all based on an actual occurrence. Sure, they enhanced a lot of that stuff for the dramatic effect, but, you know, if you really analyze every little piece of it, it's all based on actual experiences.
But what are they? That's the question. There's a lot of different theories. Some link them to hauntings, especially places of great tragedy. Some link them to children, especially young girls.
It's normally centered around a child, normally of high intelligence, but someone who holds everything in.
Yes. I don't know. I don't know.
Then you have the people who say they can communicate with the dead. You have the mediums, the clairvoyants, the psychics.
Medium, trans-channeler, all meaning the same thing. Medium being somebody who is in between.
I don't know what hovers over this house, but it was strong enough to punch a hole into this world, take your dog away from you.
Some call themselves shamans or spiritualists or spiritual healers.
The seance masters, you have the ghost hunters, etc., etc.
They're individuals who see and deal with the paranormal, with the outside, with the extremes of the mind.
Basically, channeling is the idea of being able to channel energy through you or be able to channel energy from the other side. But a trance channel was an individual who would allow an energy to come into their body and speak through them. There are a lot of people that still exist right now that they do that a lot.
This is fairly common. Some spirits can actually use people who can do this kind of thing.
Being a clairvoyant, being psychic, having given the gift of sight, if you will, is tapping into what we all have as our sixth sense.
Hello? What do you look like?
Everybody's capable of tapping into it. It's whether or not we choose to really hear, whether we're chosen to see.
You can always tell if somebody's psychic by their eyes. Their eyes are different. It's like you look through them, they're not the same. That's like a window to your soul.
You definitely can't be taught to be a clairvoyant or a mystic or a medium or anything like that. You have to have a talent for it.
As a child, I always knew things. I knew everything that was going on. I didn't like that gift. I was uncomfortable with it. Because, you know, try getting a date. You know what the guy's thinking.
There's certainly many people who are afraid of acting as mediums, and I don't blame them in the least. I can't think of a bigger bloody nuisance than being a medium.
They feel like freaks, and they're not able to function in a normal environment because they have these savantish things that are just coming out and emanating from them that they can't explain and that no one around them understands.
I've always had this, and it has made me seem very strange. And I have had people that come to me where I work, where I am a psychic, and they have the gift too, and they will never admit it, and they will never go there. But for a lot of people, it is very painful, and they just shut it down.
I sense. I can feel that where the activity is coming from, what room, where it hangs out the most, and where it scares the person the most, you know, when they would see it. Because ghosts have a funny way, you know, they just pick inappropriate times to bother you.
Emotions are the easiest ones for me to pick up. I pick up by seeing still pictures. I can see almost sometimes like a movie flashing in front of my mind, and I'm watching it and I'm trying to make sense of what I see.
Sometimes there are just ghosts that are pains in the ass and they hang around and they want you to hear their jokes, and they're not funny, but you're just not going to get rid of them no matter what you do.
Going back to ancient times, whenever someone wanted to make contact with the spirit world, they would enact a magical ritual or ceremony. And one of the most common ceremonies that people think of when they think of this kind of communication is the seance. The whole seance thing can be highly suspect, if not impossible, to most people. And one of the people that it was highly suspect to, who spent most of his life debunking the seance, was Harry Houdini. After his mother died, Harry Houdini went and visited a medium and was completely desperate to make contact with his mother. And when he sat across from the medium at the table and realized that the person he was visiting, that he was entrusting his one lifeline to his mother, was doing phony and fake parlor tricks, he was devastated. And after more than one of those experiences, he became so angry and so incensed and so passionate about exposing these people because he saw them as people who were really capitalizing on other people's despair. In spite of the fact that Harry spent most of his career debunking these imposters and the charlatans, he never really gave up believing, and he never really said out in the open, I don't believe this is a possibility. In fact, I think it's quite the contrary.
Come here, honey. And give me your hand. I'm not gonna bite you.
Are all clairvoyants out to get us, out to fool us, out to take us? Are they all hucksters and cons and frauds? No.
When I was younger, the love of my life died, and he came back to me about 7 years after that to let me know that he was okay. And that opened a gate for me to be able to be in contact with people on the other side. Because the idea is that you being a human being on a certain vibration and the energy that you want to contact is on a higher vibration, you create a space that is in between so you can be lifted to a higher vibration and they have a space that's safe for them to come down and communicate.
This is something that goes back to ancient shamanism. This is something that exists in medieval and Renaissance Europe, where you create the sacred space to try and move into the next world. You shut your eyes, you take a few steps forward or a few steps back to move yourself into a sacred space before prayer.
This is our ultimate protection. Anything that wants to come in, if it is not welcome.
Next, she starts to feel that veil in between her world and the next.
I call in the higher energy of the tarot to fill me with your light, your love, and your wisdom, and to use me as a perfect channel for your divine.
This idea that the ghosts are just beyond the veil, that they're so close, they're right here with us, and that she can feel them there and sense them and hear them.
We also call in our higher selves to connect us. I can feel their energy. I can feel how they felt when they died. I can feel how they felt during their lives and how they love their family, messages that they have for their family. And by asking questions or being in touch, I'm able to be able to feel what they feel and then translate that. It's an absolutely stunning feeling. There is nothing like it on the planet, nothing like it in the physical realm that you can experience that is like that. It is going home.
Spirits are around us, they're here to help us. That we need to be more accepting of because they're not here to hurt or harm, they're here to help.
One of the most interesting groups of people that communicate with the dead or have supernatural contact are those that are guided by spirit guides. And these people can do some amazing and inexplicable things, whether it's climb a mountain without a rope or stay safe in an environment where danger is happening all around them. It's happened. It's a real thing. And I have no idea how it's done, but it certainly is fascinating.
The main thing that allows me to survive every single one of these experiences is following this spirit guide. It's following this intangible that I can't explain, that I have utter faith in, and it is following that to my final destination. You know, it's such a delicate balance between life and death when you're up there climbing. And you have to tap into something that goes beyond the physical and the mental realm. You have to tap into whatever that other thing is, that spirit guide that people talk about. This is not a video game. There is no do-over. You get one shot to get it correct. You have to be 100%. You can't even be like a slot machine. You can't be 98% payout, because that means 2% of the times you fail. I fail once, I'm dead. It's like every cell is on fire, but not in a demonic way. You're invincible because you're in with that something else. I mean, what we have right here is temporary. There is something out there that goes forever. It goes infinite. And when channeling this, you can do anything. Once you tap into the spirit guides and allow them to flood into you, why wouldn't you allow yourself to follow completely? And once you go to that next step, well, that's when everything is possible. And that's when you don't die. That's when you do live. And that's when you live to the fullest extent possible in this plane of life.
So this idea that there is an existence beyond this one, and that it is very similar to this one, and that we might be able to reach back, is very human.
To be honest with you, it gives me a lot of comfort to think that there's life after death. That this isn't, you know, we just disappear.
Communicating with the dead is a beautiful mystery. And if I have an opportunity to walk through that door, you bet I'm turning the knob.
I am told by many, many people that you rise out of your body into a light. But do we know this for sure? Only when we go ourselves.
Whatever it is, it's the answer to the greatest mystery of all. What happens when we die? And who isn't interested in the answer to that question?
Poltergeist.